president making a number of major headlines at this hour, including threatening tariffs on countries selling oil to Cuba. I want to bring back NBC's Peter Alexander. Peter, I know you're tracking all these new headlines. What have we learned when it comes to Cuba first?
Well, let's start with that topic of Cuba, Tom, and notably the president here escalating pressure on Cuba, that communist island right now. Significant because what he's discussing doing is now putting tariffs on countries that sell oil to Cuba. And remember, Venezuela was the primary provider of oil to Cuba. The president, just a matter of weeks ago, earlier this month, was successful in that operation that ousted the authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro, who is now being held behind bars in New York City. The president, though, trying to tighten the screws again right now. This is an executive order that was done under a national emergency declaration. We're learning right now the tariff rates. We don't know exactly what those rates would be. We don't know specifically which countries would be targeted by it. But significantly here, the president, who has had many close allies, including his Secretary of State, National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, who have viewed this as an opportunity on the backs of the success in Venezuela to try to follow up with an additional pressure point as it relates to Cuba. We're going to be watching this moving forward, Tom.
Yeah, and especially with Cuba taking more than 40% of its oil from Venezuela, now going to be cut off from the rest of the world. You wonder what's going to happen there. This is live pictures, I'm being told, of President Trump on the, I'm being told it's a black carpet maybe for the Melania documentary preview tonight there in D.C. I do want to ask you, there's news about a new Fed chair as well. He announced that?
The president hasn't yet announced the new Fed chair, but he did during these conversations with reporters alongside his wife, the First Lady, who is celebrating the premiere of her documentary. The president announced that he would be announcing his pick for the new Fed chair tomorrow morning. That was a surprise to a lot of us. The president just days ago had said the decision was likely to come next week. We know he has been considering this decision for quite some time. It's one of the biggest economic policy announcements that he will make. He's been doing it, the decision making, alongside his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, whose name had been floated as a possible Fed chair replacement. Separately, Howard Lutnick, his Commerce Secretary, has been helping out. Among the names that we've been keeping a close eye on, the two Kevins, as they're described. The president's top economic advisor here at the White House, whose name is Kevin Hassett, though the president has said he may want to stay in his post, and also a BlackRock executive, a man by the name of Kevin Warsh. So those are the names that we'll be watching. Obviously, the backdrop to this, Tom, as we've been reporting out for the course of many weeks, months, as it were, is this feud, really one-sided, frankly. President Trump directing his anger at Jerome Powell, who initially the president picked in his first term before Powell was re-upped by President Trump. Powell, the president has taken to calling too late because his frustration that Powell hasn't brought interest rates down quicker. Notably, just yesterday, Powell and the Fed board announced that rates would remain steady after 3 consecutive rate cuts. The president is hoping by installing someone of his choosing that it'll help sort of bring down those costs very quickly to affect Americans in terms of everything that they buy, from their homes to the payments they make on their cars and credit cards as well. Tom.
Okay, Peter Alexander, I know we're going to stay tracking what the president is saying, but big news coming tomorrow, it sounds like. Peter, thank you. We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.